Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your Lost Gems review of Shadow of Rome by Capcom. For the first 11 years of this new millennium, ancient Rome has captivated millions. It started with the Russell Crowe-Ridley Scott collaboration on Gladiator in the year 2000, and has most recently seen attention in the WiiWare game Rage of the Gladiator, released in March 2010. Sandwiched right in between those games, in 2005, was a game called Shadow of Rome. With only slightly favorable reviews, it did not find its way to the homes of many gamers. However, even a slightly well-received game has an opportunity to be a lost gem. Perhaps this game fits into that category.
The most celebrated hero Rome had ever seen.
Following the assassination of Julius Caesar, Rome is thrust into turmoil. With their glorious leader slain, someone must be assigned the blame. Unfortunately, the man whom is to become the scapegoat, Vipsanius, is innocent. What's worse, he is your character's father. You play as Agrippa, a well-known and acclaimed centurion of Rome's army. While the assassination is taking place in Rome, you are busy holding off the barbarians from the Germanic hordes who infringe on your country's lands. Here, you gain an understanding of the centurion's prowess, while Agrippa learns of the horrible act of violence back home. It isn't until he returns to Rome and meets up with his friend Octavianus, also a controllable protagonist, that he learns just how terrible the event of Caesar's death was. Octavianus, the meek nephew of the late Caesar, fills Agrippa in on all the grim details occurring in Rome. Because of her proximity to his father, Agrippa's mother is also set to be executed. As the game progresses, Agrippa learns that the only way to save his father is to win a spot as his executioner. The only way to gain that privilege is to fight and win in a series of gladiatorial games. The main driving concept of Shadow of Rome centers on the gladiatorial games. Agrippa must face an onslaught of warriors in a host of differently set up arenas, avoiding death at all cost. Though called the games, they are anything but. Shadow of Rome contains a good deal of gratuitous violence. Weapons can cleave off limbs or smash heads into oblivion. This level of realism is complemented by the idea that your weapons will not last forever. To offset this limited amount of time that you can find yourself armed, you can appeal to the crowd for their aid, but only if you've been entertaining them. Unfortunately, the action portions of the game are over in small bursts compared to the unwieldy stealth sections of the game revolving around Octavianus. Without a minimap to help aid you, prying eyes are difficult to keep track of. And because of the ease in which you can be caught, you'll be playing the stealth missions over and over again, punishment for enjoying the sequences where you play as Agrippa. Even the battles can be a little taxing though, as the controls do have an awkward learning curve at first. Surprisingly, given the fact that not very many people have played this game, it is actually presented fairly well for the most part. Graphically, the game was leagues ahead of many other games for the PlayStation 2. Lighting was handled exquisitely, and facial expressions were spot on. Unfortunately, not everything can be perfect, and that was clear from some of the delays in the cutscenes. Things don't seem as realistic here as in other portions of the game, and it isn't something that is easily overlooked. The voice, music, and sound are all fairly enjoyable. The music is very orchestral, which helps shape the mood of the game. The sound, while lacking in variety, lends to the realism. And the voice is very meaningful, even if some of the dialogue written for certain characters is a little lacking.
Put my experience to good use.
Are you certain? You would do this?
The main draw of the game is in its arena battles. With this in mind, a ton of different combinations of attacks and maneuvers were built into the game, and are called salvos. After performing a good deal of salvos, you gain access to Shadow of Rome's vast number of unlockables, including cheats, alternate costumes, and art galleries. Furthermore, the different difficulties of the game offer up a good deal of replay value. The game is hard enough on the easiest difficulty, and only those gladiators who are tried and true will find their way through the game's extreme mode. Shadow of Rome had the unfortunate fate of being released during a year where other games were proudly making their mark. Another Shadow game, this one of the Colossus, was also hitting the store shelves, and another Capcom game shattered all expectations, eclipsing Shadow of Rome. All that said, however, this game was a solid title, marred by only a few problems, and, perhaps, not enough marketing. All these years later, maybe it's time to give the game a try. You might just find some enjoyment in it. That's Entertainment awards Shadow of Rome a score of 8 out of 10.